Here's the 5 most common reasons a real estate transaction might fall through in Birmingham, Alabama, and how to avoid it. First, we might call this over before it began with. When you execute a contract, the first thing the buyer has to do is deposit earnest money. They have within 72 hours of the contract being finalized to send in their earnest money. And if they don't, then the contract is officially void and can be terminated by the seller. Earnest money deposited ASAP is the first box to check. Second most common reason the contract might fall through would be some kind of issue related to title. If the seller has legal issues that they need to clear before the property can be sold, you can get ahead of that by doing a preliminary title search before you put the property on the market. Another reason deals will fall through is the buyer has a house that they're selling and the contract is contingent on that house being sold. If you get so far along in the contract and this other house still hasn't sold, then the seller may have to choose, do I want to keep holding out for this house to sell even though ours is ready to close? Or do I want to try my luck going back on the market and working with another buyer? Second most common reason I see is some kind of financing issue. You'd be surprised the reasons why a lender will chime in to the transaction a week before closing and say, hey everybody, I don't think this can close. I'm sorry. It might be something with the buyer's job. It might be something that the lender missed in terms of like their credit score or a debt that they have out there. The best way you can get ahead of that is to vet the buyer and their lender before accepting their offers. Lastly, the most common reason a deal falls through is something in regards to the inspection. We may have a buyer who is asking for a 100-year-old house to be made as nice as a new construction house. We may have a buyer with unreasonable expectations. We may have a seller with unreasonable expectations who's not willing to do a single thing. And there's only one buyer in the world who wants to work with them, who has some reasonable requests. So the buyer needs to have healthy expectations on what they can negotiate when it comes to inspection. The seller needs to have healthy expectations on what they may need to negotiate when it comes to inspection. The third way you can potentially get ahead is to do a pre-listing inspection as the seller. You can absolutely just hire a home inspector to come do an inspection for you so that we get ahead of the ball in terms of any issues that we may be discussing when we're under contract. You may want to go ahead and fix some stuff, but you may just want to be prepared so that if 1, 2, or 3 items come up, you know everything else that we could be talking about, and you've got a healthy expectation of what we're going to need to negotiate to get the deal all the way to the